Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Lovetta Janeine, and you are listening to the Freedom of Self-Expression podcast. Welcome. Happy Sunday. I hope everyone is doing beautifully. I am doing great as long as I am where I need to be and in a place that I don't need to be. I'm doing fantastic. Okay. So, welcome, y'all. Today we're going to continue our first video, part 2 of the gift of self-love. I did a part 1 video recap. If you haven't seen that, you can check that out on this channel. And we're going to continue that recap with the message about self-love. So basically, in that past video, part 1 video that I did a recap of basically my whole journey for these last few years, 5 to be exact. I did not intend for it to be that long, but to be honest, it was everything that I needed. It was everything that I prayed about for my ancestors to make happen for me. It was really just everything that I needed to happen so I can be the person that I need to be, because a lot of times, especially in my generation, our parents will not give you the tools that you need based out of jealousy or based out of insecurity, or whatever it is that they're going through. So without further ado, the reason why I titled this The Gift of Self-Love is because going on that journey, I realized that I didn't have enough self-love, and I was trying to figure out how to get it. And basically, I learned a lot. I learned a ton about myself. And when you grow up in these toxic environments and you still go to work and you deal with life, you kind of feel like, a functioning problematic person. You know what I mean? Or whatever issue you have that's lying underneath, whether you know or not, you're still functioning in the world. So you're functioning, but you may not have, you may not have the things that you need to live a happy life, or a prosperous life, or an abundant life, or the type of life that you want, rather than just I'm sorry, I hope my phone didn't vibrate, trying not to get distracted. But you don't always have the tools to live the life that you want and that you deserve. And sometimes you settle for a life that you feel like that's all that you can attain, because that's all you know. And then there's a lack of knowledge that plays a role in that. And when people aren't telling you or giving you any good game, or people are withholding information from you, especially your parents, it can be very detrimental to you. But thankfully, I got a lot of growth out of this journey that I was on. I got a lot of good game. I got a lot of, I can't even express how much, knowledge and information that I got. Excuse me. I really can't express that, because it was so much that I learned. And I really want to give a shout out to my mentors, because it's weird, because it's just, you learn things at the right time, I suppose, but you should know this sooner. And a lot of people don't get this information, so that's why I'm here to share this information. So one of the main things that I learned on my journey was to acknowledge my own feelings. And I take that so seriously. Like, I take it so seriously. I would defend that with my life. There's a time and a place to put your pride aside and things like that, but pride is not what I'm talking about right now. It's really acknowledgement of your own feelings. And I'm going to be giving you 5 reasons or 5 benefits of you acknowledging your own feelings, why you need to acknowledge your own feelings. Because throughout this entire journey that I had just went on, I had people telling me that, you need to deal with your money, you need to take care of you need to take care of your finances, your job, you need to take care of this, you need to take care of that, you need to have a career in something, you just need to make money in order to make things happen for you. That was one of the main things that I was being told. And although that is extremely, extremely true, I'm here to talk about that little part that people say just before you need to make money, or you need to get this, or you need to get that, you need to get a job, you need to sustain yourself, you need to this and this and that. Those are all true, but the little thing that they say before that is that, man, fuck all your feelings, fuck what you be feeling, fuck what you think, and fuck this and fuck that. And they be like, forget about how you feel, you need to do this. And my whole journey was really based in my situation of, I don't like to say this word, but emotional abuse. I'm really kind of over all of that stuff now, but I'm only going to talk about it for the purposes of teaching. So, I did have, a whole life stagnation, like a whole life event that I just really got over, and that was this cycle of emotional abuse. And that's the reason why I'm telling you that you need to acknowledge your feelings, because people will tell you don't acknowledge them. But let me tell you the 5 benefits of acknowledging your own feelings. So just for the precursor, other people who tell you this, and I think I mentioned this before, but other people who usually tell you this, man, stop worrying about your feelings, get a job, sustain yourself, do this and this and that, get the money. That is true. But other people who tell you this, and you see this, if you have experienced, emotional abuse or any type of trauma in your life, or any type of, just stagnation in your life, and you are that quiet person, that quiet girl, or even if you're a guy, you're that quiet dude or that quiet girl, when people tell you this, you see it in them that they already have that set in their behavior. It's already preset in, it's already built in within them. And that's something that you don't have. And that's something that you're missing. That is the missing link. And you see that in everyone that tells you that. You see that in everyone that tells you that. And you see that in other people in the world. Now, other people may have their issues too. You don't know everybody. But for the most part, when you see confident people, or when you see, people who are a bit well off and more confident in the area of confidence than you, and when they tell you that, this is the reason why I say you need to acknowledge your feelings. So, reason number 1 is you will have a peace of mind in owning what's rightfully yours, which is your feelings. A lot of people will tell you or discourage you from owning your feelings, and they may not even know that they're doing it, but a lot of people will discourage you from disowning your feelings. It'll make you feel like you have to disown your feelings. And they have no idea, with the background that you've grown up out of, a situation to where from birth, from childhood, you have been kind of groomed to not have your own feelings. You begin to come into the realization when you are, say 4 or 5 years old on upward, that you have this toxic parent, that, you have to appease them, and you have to do what they say. You have to walk on eggshells and move a certain way around them. You can't question anybody. You can't ask questions. You have to do what you're told. If you do stand up against them, other family members, and maybe more authoritative family members who are in charge, they will try to discipline you, or they will try to correct your behavior, but your behavior is your self-expression. You want answers, or you feel like you should at least deserve an answer for why you're getting treated the way that you do, or why you get yelled at or get screamed at, in other words, abused, and in situations like that, to where you've been silenced and you've been told to be quiet, you've been put on a ranking of less importance than that of your other family members. Like, what you say or what you feel doesn't matter. If a situation comes up and you don't, you try to express your reasoning, but people don't give a shit about your reasoning. They just try to they just try to extract what they need out of you at that moment. So you grow up in all these situations and this dynamic to where you don't express your feelings because you grew up thinking that it's wrong, especially when you are a child and you don't have that much education on knowledge of self and things like that. And then you never really get that either. And you grow up into becoming a young adult or an adult, even as older people, you grow up not ever getting a chance to acknowledge your feelings. And that's something that people don't understand, is that you don't ever get the chance to do it, because for one, it feels guilty to you. For two, it feels undeserving, like you don't deserve to know how you feel. Like, nobody wants to know how you feel, so you feel like that kind of becomes your inner voice, and you feel like you don't need to know how you feel, and that's normal, and that's the way to be, when it's actually not. And some people can tend to resent the people around them. Me personally, I've always felt like I'm too smart to resent people, or to be jealous, or have any of those lower emotions. I can fully accept people for who they are and what they are, and I can move around it, but other people can't seem to do that for me. And you might have this experience, and the reason why other people can't seem to do that for you is because you don't have that innate, inbuilt sense of self, as far as operating in your feelings, or not to operate in your feelings, but have that inbuilt sense of self to where you acknowledge your feelings, that's built in within you, and you operate in that. Like, everything and all of your decision making comes from that innate self. And people see that you don't have that in you, so they feel like they can kind of tell you anything and treat you any kind of way, and just tell you anything. You may have a lot of experiences like that, and that is because you are not owning what's rightfully yours, which is your feelings. So benefit number one is to own your feelings rightfully. And it'll give you the peace of mind that you need to be who you are. So rightfully own what's yours as far as your feelings, okay? So that's one benefit. The second benefit is that you get to finally, live in dignity. You have this, you gain. So the benefit number 2 of acknowledging your feelings is that you gain this dignity in being acknowledged as a human being by your own self. Your own self are acknowledging yourself as a human being. That's the other benefit. You finally do not have to you don't have to steer away from yourself and be in situations to where you are just not yourself. You're not treating yourself as you need to be treated, as you deserve to be treated. Have you ever seen Family Matters? There was one episode in Family Matters where Laura was kind of talking about Steve, and I guess they were on this trip and the car broke down and they had to get a motel, and Laura was really talking down on Steve, really talking badly to him, like he was just nothing, telling him he could sleep in the bathtub. And I don't know if you ever seen that episode, but when Steve Urkel finally said no, and he said something to the effect of, you don't get to treat me like dirt. He said he was a person. He said, I'm a person and I have feelings and I demand to be treated with respect and dignity. That is what I'm talking about. You acknowledging yourself as a human being means that you have dignity and you have a right to be treated with respect just as much as anyone else does. Which leads to number 3. Acknowledging your feelings will give you a better and higher immunity against bullshit. And what that means is that if you acknowledge your feelings and you acknowledge how you feel, your feelings are there to be like a radar for you. Now, people, you can argue this, sometimes, your feelings are incorrect, or sometimes, the things outside of you that are causing you to feel a certain way is incorrect. But until you get there to clear things up, in the meantime, it is okay to acknowledge how you feel, because with that, you can better have the ability to say no when you sense bullshit. Like if you're able to see things and you're able to say no. You're able to just identify things more clearly, which brings me to number 4. Acknowledging your own feelings grants you a better, improved, highly efficient, more optimized sense of direction and decision making. When you have the ability to understand and live in how you feel, you're not getting permission from someone else to tell you that it's okay for you to feel how you feel. You can more easily make your decisions the way that you need to, and you're not really dependent upon other people thinking for you, or other people giving you a sense of direction when innately you know what you need to do. You may not always know, or, but for the purpose of this topic, if you have something that and you're constantly questioning that because other people who have a better sense of acknowledging their feelings, and they have a better sense of self-worth and self-respect, and they're able to articulate themselves better, you see all that shit. And that's the missing element in you. But you let you dare tell them that, and they will say something else, and it will never be what you need, which is you need someone to tell you, acknowledge your own feelings and what you need and desire and how you feel, so that you can correctly gauge where you need to go, or what you need to do, or what you need to be in order to make better decisions in your life. I hope you grasp the sense of what I'm saying. So that's number 4. And number 5, you will develop a mind of your own, and this will unlock your personality. This will unlock your confidence. So it will no longer be how low can you tread, or how humble can you be, or how people pleasing can you be to other people, and you don't have any, you're not acknowledging the values within yourself, or how you feel about life or the world, or the certain attitudes that you have that never really fully develop full term. You get to develop those attitudes and what you think about life and how you feel, and you get to have access to your own personality, instead of just giving yourself away. When you don't acknowledge your feelings, you kind of hand over yourself to the world, in a sense, to where you no longer have that dignity. If you're a thing, an object with no feelings on the inside, then you're just an object. You know what I mean? So this, having a mind of your own, will unlock a world of things for you, and you can really cultivate that in the way that you desire, so that you can be who you want to be, instead of choosing, or having choices brought to you on behalf of your family, or other women who may be jealous of you, or dudes who may be trying to trick you, or anyone, family members, or whoever it is. Instead of having something handed to you, a personality handed to you, like, this is how you need to be because it makes me feel better, this is what you should be, or I don't like it when you like that, or all of those things. Instead of all of that shit, you could just really just work on yourself and be who you are, be who you want to be, and you can take care of yourself the way that you need to. Now, let me tell you the things that will happen if you don't acknowledge your feelings. 1, you will experience a huge, a huge discord in your life if you go off of the feelings of other people. Let me tell you something. If I had to struggle, acknowledging my feelings, because if I would have listened to other people and ignored how I felt, I would have stopped trying to be a fashion designer a long time ago. I would have stopped the whole fashion industry thing and just, kept my little job that I was at. Not to say working is not, having a job is not bad. It's you definitely need it. You'll feel some type of way if you get fired, on the least expected day and you got bills to pay. No. So yeah, all jobs, all works, should be valued, but for the most part, if I would have listened to them, I would have I would have just I would have just I would have become this person that I was really on track to being had I not gone on this journey. Because I remember, when I used to tell you guys on my Facebook page, I felt sick. Like spiritually and emotionally, I felt sick. I mean, if the spirit could have pneumonia, like it just felt like you don't know how to describe it. It's just this sick feeling. You don't feel any pain or anything, but it's it's all in your head, and you just feel this restlessness. You just feel this tugging, this gnawing, this discomfort. You feel this stagnation in your body. You feel this it's like a blockage. It's like this it's a very unhealthy feeling. I can't even describe it, but it's a spiritual feeling. And if you don't listen to yourself and go off of your feelings, if you depend on going off of the feelings of others because you don't value your own feelings, then it will lead you to a life of discord. Another reason why is that if you don't listen to your own feelings, you will not have a solid foundation of who you are. Which means, when people tell you things, if anything comes about in your life, you can be swayed here and there. And that's kind of what I was going through too. And I had to realize that's something that I had needed to heal within myself as well, because I kind of got a lot of these things from my mother too, seeing how she just reacts to everything. I had to learn that I don't have to react to everything. I don't have to do that. Even though I worked on it down to the little micro thoughts that I had. Like, you do not have to you don't have to just you don't have to have a reaction. You don't have to care or acknowledge a lot of things. And that created a better foundation within myself to have a steady ground and have a steady flow of self, a steady flow of thoughts, a steady flow of being, a more steady person. And it's steady because you have a solid foundation to walk on. And the foundation is knowing that you have your own feelings and that you don't need anyone to navigate yourself or to control you or to tell you how you should feel or what you should do. So that's another one. Another thing that, if you don't acknowledge your feelings, this is another bad thing that can happen. Stagnation. So you will experience a lot of stagnation, and if you never come to terms to accept that how you feel is good enough and worthy enough, then you will always feel that stagnation. That's one thing that I can tell you from personal experience, that you have to know that how you feel is okay. Just because your family doesn't think that it's okay doesn't mean that it isn't. Just because your significant other in your relationship doesn't want to acknowledge that how you feel is valid doesn't mean that it's not valid. If you feel that you deserve a little bit more, or that you deserve to be heard, you deserve to have your feelings heard and met, then that's okay. Because if you don't feel like you're good enough, you will attract people in your life who are intact with their feelings, and they will demand that you acknowledge their feelings. And when that dynamic happens, it can lead you to feeling depressed, because although you're maintaining a job, and although you're doing everything right, it's going to keep falling apart, especially if you have this inner belief within yourself that there's something better for you, or that there's something more that you can be doing. So that stagnation is a huge one, and acknowledging that your feelings are good enough, that's what you need to do to avoid that stagnation. Two more things. So I'm giving you kind of 5 things on what will happen if you don't acknowledge your feelings too. 1 is discord, 2 is a lack of foundation, 3 is stagnation. The 4th thing is being mislabeled. So being mislabeled, you're the weird one, or the quiet one, or the she ain't gonna do shit type of bitch. You're the identified patient by your family. They think that you need help. Your mom could drive you into oblivion and have her curse you out, or curse her out, but people will only see you cursing them out, and that you are the problem. Damn, you can't control your emotions, you need help, you need this and you need that, when in reality this person has no control over their life, and the only control that they can exercise is control over their children. So they try to gaslight you, and they try to it's not that they try to get you to emotional react, but they say such ridiculous things that are fighting words, that are disrespectful, that are really just last straw type of words. And when you go off, it leads people to think that you can't control your emotions, when you are the one who is intact with emotional control, but they're the ones who are not. And by you being around them, it just intoxifies you and your being and your aura and your environment, and that's the definition of toxicity. It kind of seeps into other things and make other things toxic, and you don't want that in your life. So yeah, being mislabeled, you can be misidentified, and that leads to being misunderstood. And if people misunderstand you, they can easily mishandle you, and mishandling usually leads to some type of disrespect or abuse, whether they know it or not, or the party who's doing that to you, whether they know it or not, it can lead to that. So being mislabeled, that's something that you don't want. Okay. And the last thing is that fault. So if you don't acknowledge your feelings, it will be your own fault. And I've really learned over this journey, and really tried to magnify this in my life, is that life really and truly does have a way of lifing. Life will have a way of showing its boldness, whether you know or not. It's like life doesn't care about whether you knew the rules or not. And so what I'm trying to say is, when people try to tell you what you need to do, and you don't listen to yourself, when you go through all of that stagnation and not having a foundation and all of the above of what I just described, all of it is because of you're constantly questioning whether you should listen to yourself. And if you don't have that innate sense of self-esteem, and having an environment to where people allow you to acknowledge your own feelings and they respect how you feel and they let you live